So I'm guessing by now you've probably heard the news about PewDiePie and everything that's happened over the last few days. If you haven't, the short version of it is that the Wall Street Journal went after PewDiePie. They went through all his videos. They said since last August, they found 8 videos that they claim featured anti-Semitic content. Some of these featured Felix dressed up as a Nazi. Some of them he paid people on Fiverr to hold signs that said "Death to all Jews," and so on. So the Wall Street Journal took these videos to Disney, brought this to their attention because apparently they weren't paying attention before what he was doing, and asked them for a comment, at which point they had to do something. So now Disney has severed ties with him. YouTube has canceled a series he was a star in, and Google has removed him from a premium ad group. And now social justice warriors and media are piling on, so incredibly proud that they still wield some power as the new thought control enforcers. Even people who I really never expected to be in favor of censoring speech claim PewDiePie crossed a line. But did he? Does context mean anything anymore? Out of all these media people who are covering this story, out of all the YouTubers who are talking about it, how many people told you the full story? Or did they just grab little snippets, little screenshots that would sound absurd to anybody who really isn't paying that much attention to it? So the Wall Street Journal had noted that this started happening back in August whenever he started making these sorts of videos. So I decided to go back and look at what happened in August of last year. And sure enough, PewDiePie had trouble with his Twitter that became a major headline story. And it all started because he had been unverified. And so he and a friend were publicly joking back and forth. PewDiePie said that they had joined ISIS, and that's why their accounts had been unverified, because him and his friend apparently had this same problem with Twitter unverifying their accounts. So they joked about joining ISIS, and his friend replied, "No, it wasn't ISIS I said we joined the Nazis." So this was a public joke between two friends that everybody who follows them knew it was a joke. Well, Twitter at this time was going through their major crackdown, trying to get rid of people recruiting for ISIS on their website. So they locked that account just simply because I guess the bot saw ISIS and recruiting, and so it automatically locked the account. So after a few hours, anyway, PewDiePie got his account unlocked. But by then, no joke, the media had taken up this report and started reporting it as fact, trying to say that Twitter had banned PewDiePie from Twitter, and it was all because he had joined ISIS, they had joined the Nazis, different reports from different media outlets. And so PewDiePie was pointing out how ridiculous the media is, especially when it comes to covering him. They've had a lot of back and forth over the last few years about his pay and everything else, and he's pointed out that they misrepresent a lot of things when it comes to him. And we all know that fake news tends to sort of do that. And so this whole back and forth with him and the mainstream media has been going on for some time, and now every time he tries to tell a joke, they come at him with this whole deal that he's a racist, that he's a Nazi, and so forth. Because if you haven't noticed, this is the new tactic of the extreme control left. They call you a Nazi, a racist, whatever the buzzword of the week is. Lately, the latest thing is to call everybody who disagrees with you a Nazi. Like that's the new big thing that everybody likes to use. So what PewDiePie did was he turned this around to show them how ridiculous it is. And he started joking about it. And all of these instances were clearly jokes to his audience whom he makes content for. So if you follow PewDiePie, which many of you probably don't, I don't a whole lot, but I do read about what goes on in the gaming news and in the gaming industry. And so if you were an audience member of his, you would know that he's been going back and forth with the media. You would know that this whole Nazi meme is a big joke towards the media. And the only people who were upset were the people not in his fan base to begin with. In fact, the video that everybody's been freaking out about, the one that has the sign that says "Death to all Jews," did you realize that that video was uploaded over a month ago? So it was online for over a month, and you didn't hear hardly anybody talk about it. But if you paid attention to what's been happening in the news the last few days, you would think that that was just uploaded a couple of days ago. But that whole time that video was up, Google didn't care, Disney didn't care, Maker Studios didn't care. It wasn't until the media began their assault and tried to make this into a story that now all of a sudden everybody found their moral high ground and backbone and tried to distance themselves from PewDiePie. And not only that, again, context. These two videos that they keep pointing to as being the worst of the worst, like let's start with the video where he paid the guys to say or hold up a sign that says "Death to all Jews." One, they were foreigners, so they didn't even understand what they were doing. Also, at the beginning of that clip, he's talking about how Fiverr opened up this segment that basically is the lowest of the low, is what he calls it. And he says that it's basically a way for anybody to do anything in the world for $5. And he's talking about how ridiculous this is. And then he points to this as proof to back up his statement. And so everybody's going along, pulling this screenshot, showing these guys holding up a sign that says "Death to all Jews." The media isn't showing you what happened next on screen, which is a segment came up on top of that said "Subscribe to Keemstar." Obviously a joke, again, towards a big YouTuber who he's trying to make it seem like he's the anti-Semite. And Keemstar makes videos with PewDiePie all the time. So again, this was clearly a joke to everybody who actually is paying attention and who is in the know. Also, the video that they point to where he's laughing and nodding and dressed up like in Nazi uniform, that video is taken from a clip that's titled "I'm a Racist." And that video is all about going after the media, talking about how they mischaracterize him again, calling him a racist and a Nazi and everything else. He said, if I was really a Nazi, it would be something like this that you would see. And again, it was clearly a joke. Answer me this. Does anyone honestly believe PewDiePie is a Nazi? Like, do you really think he's a Nazi, that he'd gas any Jew that walked up next to him? I'm going to guess that everybody's answer is no. Even if you don't like PewDiePie, I don't know how you can honestly believe that. All of these instances were clearly jokes. Jokes that his audience members got. Now, you may not get it if you're just reading some propaganda mainstream outlet that only focuses on pulling out some screenshot here or there without telling you any context about what was going on. It was shown to demonstrate how ridiculous the media is. It was shown to demonstrate how far people are willing to go on places like Fiverr to make $5. PewDiePie was just showing the ridiculousness of it all. Now, you can say that the jokes weren't funny. I mean, that's fair. Everybody's humor is different. But let's get one thing straight. You have the right to be offended. But just because you're offended doesn't take away the right of the person who's offending you. Comedians tell jokes about anything and everything under the sun, whether it be Jews, Muslims, Christians, blacks, whites, Hispanics, rednecks, 9/11. Whether it's funny or not Depends on the person telling the joke and if it has the right delivery. Except for abortion jokes, because there is no delivery. The day that we start pointing out what can and what can't be joked about, the day that we start making that list is the day you can say goodbye to free speech. It's the day that you can say goodbye to creative freedom, to original thoughts. The day we say goodbye to being an individual. I mean, if we all conformed and talk the way that every special interest group wants us to talk, if we talk the way every religious group wants us to talk, every political party wants us to talk, you'd be nothing but a mindless drone and some 1984 movie. George Carlin, who I really wish was still on this planet so he could address the current culture, said political correctness is just fascism masquerading as good manners. If you want to find somebody to call a Nazi, you could probably find real Nazis. Just look at the people who are trying to censor speech the way the Nazis did. Look at the people in the streets beating down other people who disagree with them politically. Look at the people starting riots at college campuses to prevent somebody who was invited from speaking. Like, if you want to find Nazis, you can find Nazis. I can show you some really great examples. I don't think you'll find PewDiePie on that list, though. And look, he's going to be fine. He don't need me to take up for him. I'm not taking up for him. That's not the point of this. But I did want to just give you some context. It isn't PewDiePie who scares me. It's the Klan who's on a crusade to crush free speech, to crush free thought. That scares me. That does it for me, the Red Dragon. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Are you listening? Damn.